Giselle, well, not her real name obviously, strutted through the modelling world like she owned it. And maybe she did. With legs that went on for days and eyes that could melt glaciers, she booked every major campaign, every coveted runway show. But Giselle's beauty was only skin deep. Okay, maybe bone deep too, considering that bone structure. But her personality, let's just say she wasn't winning any Miss Congeniality awards. Giselle was queen bee of the modelling world, and her sting was legendary. She thrived on belittling other models, particularly targeting their insecurities. New girl had a pimple? Giselle would point and laugh. Veteran showing signs of age? Giselle would loudly wonder if she needed a senior citizen discount.
"Honey, you need to stuff those things," she'd purr to a flat-chested colleague, her voice dripping with faux sweetness.
Darling, are you sure you're wearing the right bra? Because it looks like you forgot it altogether.
The other models, intimidated and frankly a little scared of her, would just smile weakly and scurry away. After all, this was Giselle, the Giselle. She could make or break careers with a single phone call. Giselle knew she was feared, and she liked it that way. The annual Fountain of Youth cosmetic campaign was the biggest event in the industry. Landing this campaign was like winning an Oscar, a Grammy, and the lottery, all in one perfectly sculpted package. And guess who was always the face of the campaign? You guessed it, Giselle. This year, the pressure was on. Rumors were swirling about a revolutionary new anti-aging serum, something that promised to erase wrinkles, tighten skin, and literally turn back the clock. The company was keeping it top secret, but whispers of its miraculous effects had everyone in a frenzy. Giselle, vain creature that she was obsessed with getting her perfectly manicured hands on this serum. She had her people call their people who called the cleaning lady who knew the guy who walked the CEO's dog. Finally, a vial of the mysterious serum, nestled in a velvet-lined box, arrived at her doorstep.
"Don't worry, darling," she whispered to her reflection. "Giselle's going to stay young forever."
She didn't even bother reading the accompanying leaflet. Who needed instructions when you were Giselle? She downed the serum in one gulp. Big mistake. The Fountain of Youth launch was being held at a swanky uptown hotel, all marble floors and crystal chandeliers. The air crackled with anticipation. Giselle, draped in a shimmering silver gown that showed off her, well, everything, was the epitome of glamorous arrogance. She glided through the crowd, basking in their adoration. She was just about to step onto the runway, her grand entrance perfectly timed, when she felt a strange tingling sensation. She dismissed it as nerves, but then it intensified, spreading through her body like wildfire. She felt lightheaded, dizzy, and then she noticed it. Her dress, once clinging to her every curve, felt loose. She glanced down and gasped. Her ample assets seemed to have deflated, like balloons slowly losing air. Panic surged through her. This wasn't possible. Was it the serum? Had it backfired?
"What's wrong, Giselle?" her agent hissed, noticing her distress. "Get out there! The crowd's waiting!"
Giselle tried to speak, but no sound came out. Her throat felt tight, constricted. Her agent, mistaking her silence for diver-like reluctance, gave her a little shove toward the stage. Giselle stumbled into the spotlight, her world spinning. The crowd erupted in applause as Giselle, their queen, graced the runway. But the applause quickly morphed into gasps, then murmurs, then outright laughter. Giselle, usually so poised, so in control, staggered down the runway, her limbs feeling oddly uncoordinated. Her gown, now several sizes too big, started to pool around her feet. But it was her face that drew the most attention. It seemed younger, smoother. Her trademark cheekbones, once so sharp they could cut diamonds, were now rounded, almost cherubic. Her pouty lips, normally painted a seductive scarlet, were now a pale pink. And her eyes, those icy blue orbs that used to hold so much disdain, were wide and frightened, like a deer caught in headlights. The other models, waiting in the wings for their turn on the runway, watched in stunned silence. Could this be? Was Giselle shrinking?
What happened to you? Gigi, a freckled redhead who'd once been on the receiving end of Giselle's cruel taunts about her cute but childish looks, couldn't help but blurt out. She was returning from her walk on the runway.
Giselle, her voice now a high-pitched squeak, tried to retort, but all that came out was a strangled younger, too young.
The other models burst into laughter. The queen had fallen, and it was hilarious. Giselle, once the reigning queen of the runway, had been reduced to a mere child of 5 years old. Her oversized gown slipped from her shoulders, leaving her naked on the runway. No curves or sex appeal at all. Her face turned a deep shade of red, blushing with embarrassment as she stumbled out of her high heels, nearly falling down. The crowd's laughter echoed in her ears as she bolted towards the backstage area, tears streaming down her chubby cheeks. She ran into the arms of her agent, who quickly wrapped her in a blanket and whisked her away to her dressing room. The transformation was so shocking that it made breaking news within minutes. Headlines screamed about the fallen supermodel, now a helpless child. As the news spread, it became clear that there was no reverse serum, no magical fix. Giselle's reign was truly over. Her agent, now acting as her legal guardian, decided to take her home, away from the prying eyes of the public. Months passed, and while the world moved on, Giselle found a new path. She began modeling children's dresses and swimsuits, her career taking a completely different turn. The former queen of the runway had to adapt to her new reality, forever changed by the events that unfolded that fateful night.